Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald here with me in the studio. We'll be crossing over to Hampden very shortly to speak to our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi. As the Scotland squad is announced, Steve Clarke has been speaking to the assembled members of the press. We'll get his take on the big game coming up against Israel, of course, an international break on the way. So we'll hear from the Scotland manager Steve Clarke as well. Just before we talk all things international football, Champions League's on the horizon, Europa League, and as ever with Scottish football, no shortage of controversial things to talk about. One of them, which is a little bit of good news, Hugh, Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, is saying that businesses won't face enforcement action over the COVID vaccine passports for 2 weeks after they become law. So it gives everybody a little bit of time.
Yeah, you can. There's been a gradual easing off, hasn't there, Pierre, since day one when it was mandatory. You must do this. There must be, 50,000 crowds must be tested. Slowly, there's been a bit of breathing room, and I think it's sensible. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, what we're waiting to see, Ruffy, is the operation of it all.
Yeah, I think we were discussing it the other day, and you get 50,000 people going to a game, and you're putting the onus on the stewards, to monitor it, and whoever else is at the club to monitor it as well. And it's going to be a tough one. We always come up with something, that somebody is going to work a fast one. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there who haven't got 2 vaccination jags will be trying to think a loophole to get in.
Devious people, Ruffy, never. Yeah. Well, we'll wait and see. Let's hope it's successful. Let's hope we get large crowds successfully into matches without too much delay. So from vaccine passports, hard to believe that we're talking about that constantly in football, but it's affected everyone. We're now going to switch our attention to the international scene out there at Hampden Park, for us. Our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi has been speaking to the Scotland manager Steve Clarke. Gabriel, first and foremost, what's the main news from the squad that he's announced?
Yep. Hi, Peter. Hi, boys. Steve Clarke has named his squad for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers, the crucial ones against Israel and the Faroe Islands. He's named a slightly smaller squad this time round. It's only 24 players. The inclusions are Scott McTominay. He's recovered from his minor injury, which kept him out last month. You've got Stuart Armstrong coming back into the fold. He's not played all season, but Clarke is confident he can get a few minutes before joining up with the Scottish contingent. You've also got Rangers goalkeeper John McLaughlin, who is, of course, back up to Craig Gordon. He doesn't have COVID this time round, thankfully. He is in. Also, Callum McGregor. He's not played his last 4 club matches. But again, Steve Clarke is confident that he can get a few minutes, perhaps against Bayer Leverkusen or against Aberdeen for Celtic. Lewis Ferguson keeps his place in the midfield, the youngster up at Pittodrie, whilst there are some players that miss out. You've got the Celtic duo of James Forrest and Greg Taylor, both injured. Xander Clark, perhaps harshly. The St Johnstone goalkeeper has been impressive all season, but he loses his place, as does Declan Gallagher and Paul McGinn, the defenders.
Yeah, just picking up on that point, Ruffy, before we speak to Gabriel again, will Xander Clark feel just more than a little miffed?
A wee bit. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He's been superb. Even at the weekend, he was great. And as a professional, I'm sure somebody will have something to say about it in the next couple of days. They won't let that go. Yeah,
and Gabriel, you mentioned there the players that have been excluded. What about the hope for Callum McGregor? Because he hasn't kicked a ball in 4 games, but clearly Steve Clarke views him as pivotal to their success on the field.
Yeah, well, in all the big games for Scotland over the last few years, McGregor has been influential. You look at the game back here against Croatia. He scored the only goal at the European Championships. It was pivotal against England down at Wembley in the 0-0 draw, and really dovetailed well with Billy Gilmour away in Austria. The last fixture, huge win, 1-0 in Vienna. And you've got Gilmour and McGregor at the base of the midfield with John McGinn just ahead of them. We're expecting to see that over the next 2 games as well. And McGregor, as we said, hasn't played the last 4 club fixtures. He's hoping to be on the bench for Bayer Leverkusen for Celtic on Thursday. If not, it will be Pittodrie. But I spoke to McGregor on Friday, and he is confident that he'll be able to play for Celtic before the break and fully fit for Scotland in these next 2 games.
Yeah, big game coming up against Israel. Here's the Scotland manager, Steve Clarke.
When you name a squad, there's still 11 11 days, I think, till match day, so plenty of time. A couple of games. Callum's in that situation, Stuart Armstrong's in a similar situation, but I'm hoping that they'll both get some minutes over the next couple of games and be fit and available to join the squad. And the medical staff have been in constant touch. We know where the players are at, and as always, we'll treat them as well as we can. Listen, it's good to get as many of your better players in the squad as possible. Scott's certainly one of those, so it's good to have him back.
Gabriel, just before you go, Israel on the horizon, the Faroe Islands, Moldova, and then the final game against Denmark. The manager confident that he's think 3 out of 4 will be enough for a playoff?
Yeah, we know if they do beat Israel next week, they'll only need to win their next 2 matches, or they could beat Denmark as well. But that will guarantee them second place and the playoff in March 2022. And you know what Steve Clarke's like, he doesn't want to give anything away. He said they're in a good place, but he won't be counting his chickens yet. Every game is a cup final. That's what he said. And that starts with Israel here at Hampden Park next Saturday. Now, they've played 6 times in the last 3 years. Scotland have only won 1 of those fixtures, none of the last 4. They did beat Israel on penalties in the Euro 2020 semi-final on shootout, but it's going to be tight. Israel, we know what they're like. They're sticky, but a crucial factor could be the sellout. It's a sellout here at Hampden Park for the first time in Clarke's tenure, the first time in 4 years. Will that be influential? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, great stuff from Gabriel Antoniazzi out there at Hampden Park for us. It is so crucial that we take maximum points from the next 2 to get ready for Moldova. I think Denmark's just one of those free hits, to be honest with you, Hugh.
I think so too. I mean, my view at the beginning of the campaign was going to be very, very difficult to get a playoff spot, because I thought Denmark would win the group cosily. I think they will win the group cosily, but where I was wrong was I thought Austria would be, pretty nailed on for the second spot. Yeah. And that was kind of frank, Peter, when I saw them against Italy in the Euros. I thought, we've already drawn with them at Hampden. Do we go to Austria and win? I can't see it. Football immediately makes a fool out of you again. And now I think Scotland are certainly in the box seat for the playoff spot. I think, that draw in Israel looked pretty mediocre at the time, but it now looks good. It now looks good, Peter, because if you win at home, you've won the head-to-head with Israel, and then you're sitting in the box seat to qualify in the playoff spot. Yeah,
well, if you look at that group, here's where we're standing in the group, Ruffy. And the one thing you want in a group is destiny in your own hands.
Yeah, and certainly, as Hugh said there, Austria have been beaten twice there in a row. That sort of dented them. So I think we've got to get the playoff place now, with the fixtures that are in front of us. I'm not worrying about we've only beaten Israel once in the last 7 games. That's not important now. We've got them at home. We're showing some kind of form. I just like to see us showing that we can go and get teams and beat them 2 or 3-0. Yeah. I'd love that. We've proven that we can go to Wembley and dig in, and we've proved we can go to Austria and dig in and get a goal. I would like to see us getting that second goal and the players relax a wee bit more, and we can see the quality of the players that we've got, because all the games that have been playing up to now, it's been so tense, and you're just hoping for the 90 minutes to come. I'd love us all to go to a game and enjoy the 90 minutes.
Yeah, well, you need to be born in a different country, Ruffy. You need to be called a Ruffinio. It's as simple as that.
It really is. I mean, I would love Scotland to kind of flank their form as well. I think we saw in little, more than little glimpses, maybe first 45 minutes against Serbia in Belgrade, I thought outstanding. Second 45 against England in Wembley, again, outstanding. We've watched good halves from Scotland. I'd just love to see a really good 90-minute performance. And I think there's so many really decent players in that team as well, Peter. There's no real excuse now to be nervous. They're playing for big clubs. They're playing under big expectations. Let's go out and show the class.
Yeah, well, some of the people watching the programme are obviously commenting on it. Graham Hay just basically says, I've said it before, if we can't beat Israel at home, we don't deserve to qualify. So the other thing about it as well is quite a lot of people, Bob White says, is Hugh wearing a hoodie? It's close to a hoodie, but no, he's not. He's just relaxing. He hasn't brought his Maestro top with him, to be fair.
Well, hoodies are in there. The Americans had the hoodies was on at the Ryder Cup
right.
and I
Absolutely,
came back.
right,
So,
but
there you
not
go.
at Hugh's age, to be honest.
That's at my age, it's the Harry hoodies.
Exactly. What about the squad, Hugh? Have a look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys give me your thoughts on it, because this is what he's picked. Gordon, Kelly, McLaughlin, Cooper, Hanley, Hendry, McKenna, O'Donnell, Patterson, Robertson, Tierney, Armstrong, Ferguson, Billy Gilmore's there, John McGinn, Callum McGregor, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay, Turnbull, Shea Adams, Ryan Christie, Lyndon Dykes, Ryan Fraser and Kevin Nisbet. Is there anyone there, Hugh, or anyone that you would like to have seen that's not in that lineup?
This doesn't make a good line, Peter, but no, I think that's the squad. Even going down to the goalkeepers, I can see why Steve Clark has left, stayed with his regular three goalkeepers. I agree, it's
And
a big...
I think the Xander Clark thing's diabolical. I really
Do you?
do. Yeah, I really do. Yeah, I think he's been absolutely outstanding for the last 6 months, and to be in the squad and then just be brought out of the squad because McLaughlin's had a couple of games. You know, I think it's a hard one to take, and I'm sure his manager will have something to say about it.
To be fair, though, I mean...
Well, I agree with you, they should be in the squad, but...
But their goalkeeper number 3, Rob, you know, they're not going to
the
be...
two points I would make is that you've got to remember what Clark will be thinking about is that John McLaughlin's travelled all over the world as goalkeeper number 3, right? And has never quibbled, and Clark's all about loyalty, Peter, you know, it's all about...
Yep.
So is he going to say to a guy that's travelled all over the world, I'm dropping you for somebody else? I think that would be in the equation. Should Xander Clark be in there in form? Of course he should. But, I mean, I think it's a good thing if our biggest quibble is arguing over the third choice goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I think we're doing all right.
Well, the one area, and again, it's a real worry, and sometimes I sound like a broken record, and I do apologise, but Hugh Scott, who has messaged us on our live feed on the YouTube show, says, Peter, I wouldn't have included McKenna again, certainly wouldn't have him playing with Hanley out for the Israel game. I don't know, Ruffy, but... You're
not a big McKenna fan.
I'm not a McKenna fan, I just don't think he's international quality.
You know,
how many options do we have? Do we have any options?
I'm sure Steve Clark, and when they meet up, and they're meeting up for quite a long time, I think he'll have different formations. He'll be trying different centre halves up, and he'll come up with a big decision. You know, how they're reacting during training and whatever formations they're playing. We shouldn't be up against the cuff at home against Israel. You know, we're not going to be playing against 3 people up front. You know, so we should be able, with the quality we've got there, to play 3 at the back, have an extra man up front or in midfield. So that's the 2 areas that's going to win the game for us. I wouldn't think defensively they're going to put us under any pressure whatsoever. If they score 1 goal, I think that's where they've got in their makeup.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting the 3 at the back though, because you see if he goes to the 3 at the back and he goes McTominay at the back, there's only one other space available, because obviously Tierney will play the 3 at the back.
Stonewall certainty.
He's a Stonewall certain. So if he says to McTominay, I want you in there to bring the ball out, it's only one place up for grabs. The place up for grabs, I don't think McKenna comes into the argument at all. I think Henry does.
Yes.
Henry's played
I agree with you. I think it would be. I think, and I'm just, again, football, as you say, is a great habit of proving you wrong. But I think it's Henry, McTominay, and Tierney.
That would be my 3.
With Robertson and O'Donnell. He'll stick with O'Donnell.
I think he'll stick with O'Donnell too.
And then he's hoping that McGregor's back in there and McGinn. And then, you know, you could
do Christie, Armstrong in there. I mean, and then I think he plays 2 up front. I think or 1 just behind. I think he plays Dykes and Adams in some formation. Yeah. So I don't think that, you know, he might put, if he's stripped of Callum McGregor, might he put McTominay in the midfield? Maybe so, but I think midfields, we forgot about Gilmour in midfield. He's got to start Gilmour in midfield.
Yeah, good. Yep, absolutely. Well, let me just quickly clarify. It's got to the point now where Gilmour is a Stonewall certainty.
I think so.
Yeah.
I know you're saying O'Donnell. Yeah, I would like to see a winger get in there. I'd like to see a wide person. We know O'Donnell's going to get up and down the park, there's no doubt about that. But I'd like to see somebody in a wide area taking on people and creating things for the 2 people up front. I know he's a wide man, but I'd like to see something a wee bit more positive, a wee bit near 3 up front, maybe 2.5, something like that. But
So do you agree with our midfield three then,
Yeah,
which is Gilmore, McGinn and McGregor if he's fit?
If he's fit.
yeah.
You happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. You can give us your view. What would you pick as the starting 11 for Scotland? Who do you think should be a Stonewall certainty? What would you do at the back? It's the conundrum that's always kind of outfoxed many of us, and of course on the evidence of some of the games prior to his qualifying for the European Championships. The centre of defence was a problem. Is it getting better? Are you optimistic about us getting all 3 points against Israel and, of course, the Faroe Islands? I think we'll get 2 wins.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
I do.
Not Moldova.
Eh? Well, the first 2 games coming up is against...
Yeah, no, but we've got to beat Moldova as
Yeah,
well.
we'll beat-
3 out of 4.
Well, absolutely. We're hoping we'll beat 3 out of 4. But,
One
but,
day at a time.
but the up and coming games are Israel and the Faroe Islands. Calm your jets.
Let's be more positive than that.
Yeah, okay.
Let's take on Denmark and all.
Yeah.
Because they'll have qualified.
Don't you get too optimistic. Listen, about 3 years ago on this show, do you remember him? Mr. Doom and Gloom. There was no optimism whatsoever.
but
So, you going for 3 out of 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe 3 out of 4. We can't let anybody get a sniff and not get into the playoff position.
Okay, if that's us being optimistic about Scotland in the international front, what about domestically at home? Are we still a nation of backstabbing, divided people who, if we're not banning people, we're complaining about things? Are we still that nation?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, we are. Because I'm just about to say to you, Hearts and Motherwell have written to the SPFL over Celtic and Rangers with their away fan lockout, which, as we know, and I am perfectly willing to be absolutely abused here from the nutcases, but it's a nonsense.
It is, unless these clubs can produce some medical advice that you can't have away fans, they're barking up a tree. You know, we saw the Dundee United derby. We saw the Hibs derby. We saw what it means for 2 sets of fans being in the park. Get a grip. Come on, let the fans get in and enjoy what football's about. It's about, you know, having a bit of banter with the team that you're playing and enjoy the game, win or lose, and it's taking it away to the fans.
Hugh, have you ever, in all your experience, now I'm not as experienced as yourself over these 30 odd years working in journalism and in Scottish football, I've never witnessed as divisive the actions of people, inflammatory. If we're not, I mean, we're now getting to the point where if we're not happy with what somebody says, they're banned.
Ban 'em,
They're banned. The press is completely out of Rangers. You know, it's nonsense.
Well, it's funny you're talking about 30 odd years. I'm now going into my 50th year in journalism.
Wow.
So a half century there. And I've never seen anything quite like it. I mean, I was talking to a guy who was doing a bit of work for an American, and I was talking to him, and he couldn't get his. He says, "Wait a minute, you're banning customers." This is what he couldn't get his head around it. He says, "What do you mean? So these areas are left empty, as you saw as well?" He couldn't get his head around it. And the really funny thing, because the Scottish football, and there's got to be a funny thing about it, is the actual protocol is there's got to be room for a reasonable amount of away fans. That's the protocol.
Yeah.
Well, under COVID, reasonable could equal 0. I mean, there's actually an asterisk that says reasonable, so clubs have used that to get out. But I find it so, you know, it's sort of mildly, I mean, there's worse things happening in the world, but I do find it mildly depressing, Peter.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, the whole joy of football is the fans. I mean, let's not go down this cliche, but it is. And the whole joy of a big match is to hear 2 sets of fans, that interaction. We've lived it for years, we'll love it. And it's just silly.
Yeah. Stuart McLean says the press are not entirely out of Rangers. Yeah, you're absolutely right. If we're going to be pedantic about it, you're absolutely right, Hugh. There's just 2 members in, and then the rest are all fanzines. So I don't want to go down the road of going into arguments with, you know, the decisions of one club or pundits being locked out. It's just indicative of the way we are in this country at the moment. I think we need a watershed moment of positivity, Ruffy, where somebody changes the way we look at our game and changes the way we sell our game, project it. You know, because I don't think this programme is about getting bogged down with the madness of clubs and what they want to do. I don't think it helps our image.
No, I think we're pleased that these 5 people for the 5 clubs want to have a meeting and see what is actually happening in the game. It's unfortunate Rangers and Celtic haven't joined that 5, you know, because they're a big part of everything that happens in Scottish football. But you would like to think they'll come up with something. And I think one of the things they will come up with was they need to get round the table and sort all this stuff out, because it's damaging Scottish football. You know, it's just taking away the people who support the game, pay the wages. Are they stopping them getting in? You know, so at some stage, if they continue to do it, they're going to struggle themselves financially.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know when that moment comes, Hugh. I don't know what it's going to take to get a shift.
To reel it all back in, Peter. Yeah. You know, it's like shoving toothpaste back into the container. You know, it's just going to be so difficult. I mean, it really needs, you know, real clear the air stuff where people sit down and say, you know, what are we about here? How are we trying to go about what about? You know, we've got a sponsorship deal that's presumably unsigned at the moment. It's lying there on the table. We're going to have problems. We're going to have problems around that at one point. Yeah. There's going to be real problems like that. We've got a broadcaster who's paying money, who can't get their people into certain grounds. There's going to be problems around that at certain times. So yeah, things are building up and coming to a crescendo. I just think that if you talk about, and I'll be brief, but if you were starting Scottish football from day one now, what would you be looking at? You'd be looking to get the press on board, to get all the marketing. You'd be looking for a deal to get, you know, the league under a sponsorship. You'd be looking, you know, at really pleasing the broadcasters, almost doing anything they wanted, because they are the people that are paying the money. And we're not doing any of those things. Yep.
It's a sad state of affairs. It needs someone, a charismatic figure from outside, to come in and try and lead everyone through what is a poisonous time in the game at the moment. I find it really sad. On the park, I think there's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of good players. Certainly a lot of good games that I think we're watching. I certainly enjoyed Motherwell against Ross County at the weekend. There's football to look forward to as well. And of course, the madness of it all. This is the joy of it, Ruffy. We live in a country where even after 6 or 7 games, some teams are written off for the title. And I don't think Ange Postecoglou's got used to it yet, has he?
No, I said that the other day. I think he's not got used to it because he's not been manager of a team that has to be top of the league. He's probably been managing clubs that is quite acceptable to be okay after 7 games. So now to be realistic now, he's beginning to get the drift that Celtic are either first or second for the whole season, not just after 7 games. And I think he's beginning to realise that. And he's been given the breathing space because of the injury set up, you know, so he will certainly be judged when everybody's back and the important games are coming up, and I'm sure he really does know the extent of winning games at Celtic, particularly at home.
Yeah, well, speaking today was the winger who's actually settled in well at Celtic. Jota says he can't believe it, that Celtic are already being written off for the title. He says there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I think that's a non-question for us because we don't think like that. We are still in September. The last time I checked, so there are no champions in September. So I think we just have to play game by game and develop each game, learn with the things we do wrong, and just be a better team. So I think the championship will end in May, I think, and in there we can speak about that. But for now, I think there's plenty of championship to play.
Yeah, too sensible, Jota. You know, there are no champions, he says, in September. I'd love to be a fly in the ball when he phones home and he goes, "You'll never believe it. They've written us off. We've only played 6 or 7 games here. This country's mad."
I don't know though. I mean, the question I would ask him if I'd been in there said, see if you were playing for Benfica and they were 6th in the league.
Yeah.
Would there be an outcry in Portugal?
With 6 points of a difference, Hugh.
Yeah. I wonder if there would be an outcry. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great insight. I mean,
if you know, what would the Portuguese press be like if Benfica were 6th in the league at the moment? I don't know. I imagine there'd be some pressure.
Yeah.
I agree with Ruffy totally on Ange, but somebody needs to take Ange aside and say to him, listen, see the reality here, particularly in your press conferences, is this is no good. I mean, see, like, we played very well, hit the bar twice, Dundee United this, Dundee United, you know, that's not going to wash. I think he's been very unlucky.
Yeah.
And here's why I think he's been lucky. He's been unlucky in that which is his own doing because he accepted the job late and he got players in late. But I think the injuries have really killed him, and particularly one injury, Furuhashi up front, I think is so crucial to the way he wants to play. And I think that has really impacted on him. So I think there's been a bit of bad luck there. But he's got to know. He's got to get back on it quick. This game, by the way, on Thursday is it's a game you don't want. Leverkusen, Peter, second in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
They are playing really good stuff. They're full of it at the moment.
I think they could win by a couple of goals.
I think so too.
They're
a good. I mean, if you look at Leverkusen, and again, it's only 6 games going there as well. But they are above, like Leipzig's had a poor start, but they're above Dortmund's, Wolfsburg's. They're second to Dortmund to Munich at the moment.
Yeah.
So this is a good mob.
And the strange thing about it, Ruffy, and I think, when people are talking about Celtic, one of the things that I think is heaping the pressure on them is I don't think Rangers have actually, I don't think they're in second gear yet. I mean, they are absolutely grinding out wins, and I don't think they're playing as good as they were last season. I think Rangers are still to go through the gears.
Yeah, I think Rangers were very good last year. We know what they were, but I don't think they've improved their side. I don't think they've brought in any quality. I don't think they've brought in anybody that's better than the 11 that we saw last year. They've added to the squad, but I don't see any players that have come in that have been much better than what they've got. So for that aspect, it's okay saying, that there is another gear there. There's always another gear in everybody, but you've got to find that gear.
They won the league by over 20 points. I don't understand where...
They won the league by 20 points, so Celtic were poor, Hearts were poor, Hibs were poor,
Hearts Aberdeen were
poor. Oh, sorry, Aberdeen were poor. The big teams were poor.
Yeah.
There was no challenge. At Aberdeen, there was no challenge at Easter Road, and that's nothing to take away for Rangers. They won it because they played well and they never lost goals. But the challenge is there now. You just look at the league now, you look at Hibs and you look at Hearts, and you look at the teams that are up there, they're all, and even the games they're playing against Rangers and Celtic, they're all holding their own, which is great for the league. I don't think there'll be 20 points this year. You're obviously going to say that Celtic will get their act together, but I think it's going to be a right good league this year.
Yeah, only Dundee United have beaten Rangers.
Yep, absolutely.
I think it's for the other clubs. I mean, if I'm saying Rangers are still to go through the gears, they're at the top of the league, and they haven't really looked as if they're motivated.
It's a good place to be when people are saying you're
Absolutely,
not playing well.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Ruffy. I think Steven Gerrard would have been wanting in the close season, because all his rhetoric was, okay, we'll trim down the squad, but anything coming in will be real quality. We want to make this team better. He hasn't made the team better with the people that come in, not significantly so. What was really crucial to him is he didn't lose Morelos, Kent or Goldson either, and I think they're big players for the team. So he would take, on one hand, he'd take that, but I know he was keen on bringing in quality. I know he was keen in bringing in a striker. I know he was keen in Nisbet. And for whatever reason, they couldn't get that over the line.
Yeah, well, they're at the top of the league, Rangers, and it's for the others to try and hunt them down. Whether they're capable of doing that, only time will tell. Just a little mention from something that came out today. Celtic's foundation has reached £1.5 million in putting it out to worthy causes, especially in the pandemic. Now, I know Tony Hamilton does a lot of work with it. They were talking about the money that they've given out, especially in the Central Belt, for food, fuel poverty, mental health. These foundations, charities, the work that clubs do in the background, I think we need to start mentioning more and more the positivity of what they do.
I agree, especially see like the Celtic thing as well. Most football clubs, they've got a charity. Celtic's history is that Celtic are a charity that's got a football club attached to it. Celtic were formed as a charity, so that's got a long lineage and a good tradition. And one of the wonderful things I think about Celtic FC Foundation, having known Tony and looked into what the foundation does, completely, no boundaries at all. They're really strong on refugee, the refugee charity, very strong on safeguarding, families that might be at the risk of domestic violence, Peter. Very strong in poverty, particularly in the East End where the club is. I think, and we know that other clubs have got great charity foundations as well. I think it's a tremendous thing for football.
Yeah, absolutely. Well worthy of a mention in a positive sense there for the foundation who were promoting that today. The amount of money that they managed to get out to worthy causes. Well done to Tony and the team. Listen, here's another man who's a philanthropist. James Anderson, $1.5 million to Scottish grassroots football. Now, I know he's a wealthy guy, but I think he deserves a heck of a lot of credit, this businessman. He's a Jambo, he's on the board there. I think with him at the helm, Hearts could be secure for many, many years to come. But what he's doing for Scottish football, never mind grassroots, right across the board, has to be applauded.
Yeah, I'm sure the people at grassroots football will welcome that kind of thing. We generally talk about the Premier League and everything that's happened, but there's so much happening at grassroots football and women's football as well. He's invested in the women's football as well. He's just doing all the right things. He's putting the right money in the right places for the people, for the future of Scottish football, and it's fantastic he's got himself involved. I think he's also getting other people involved as well, who have got money, who are prepared to do that as well, and it's just positive every time he does something.
Yeah, and never mind grassroots football, he's also backed the women's football as well.
I think the women's football is crucial, Peter, because I think there's a real groundswell of participation growing in women's football. I think there's a real interest in it, certainly by the media. You can now see it quite strong in what we call page leads. That is a big, about the women's teams, particularly, Glasgow, Hibs, Celtic and Rangers. They're kind of, dominating dominating at the moment. And I think it's a wonderful thing because if you talk to a women's footballer of a certain age, they would have told you that their role models were male players. Now you've got a whole generation of young kids, 5, 6, 7 and 8, who are coming to women's football and their heroes are Kim Little, their heroes are Erin Cuthbert, Rachel Corsie, Leah Hann, Crichton. There's role models, there's a pathway now to top class football and professional football for women, and I think it's an amazing development.
It just shows you how far they've come. When I was listening to Gabs there for Hampden, at the front of Hampden it's 2 women footballers. It's not Kenny Dalglish and somebody else. It's 2 women footballers at the front of the Hampden Stadium, which can only be good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, sorry to be positive there. I know it's usually I know it's usually a negative show. Certainly when you read some of the feed here, you would think there's nobody that actually sees anything on a sunny day other than a dark cloud. But nevertheless, we do love our football. We do love talking about football. Sometimes along the way, Hugh, because when you grow up as a boy and you watch players, and because I'm a bit of a hoarder and I used to, I know exactly. I've got a problem.
No, I think it's astonishing. I think what you've got is the possibilities of a rather small bijou museum, which I would certainly bring my son Alistair along to walk around.
Well, I can't wait for the big when we have because we're in the new studios, Ravi, we're going to have a big open night. We're going to invite a few of the viewers along as well who are loyal to the programme, and obviously get the chance to meet yourself, and then see exactly what we've got. Just a little snippet of what we've got here, but there's some belters.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get the relevant security in when they're here.
Well, the reason why I'm directing you that way is because sometimes, I don't know about you, Hugh, but Jimmy Greaves passing away last week was one of those sad moments because when you're growing up and you love your football, I was fortunate enough to come from a family where we could actually see 2 teams on the pitch. And obviously, as a kid as well, I might as well, I take great pride in saying it. Davy Cooper used to run a sports night for his team that played squash and badminton, and I used to DJ for him.
Oh, marvellous.
And he used to give me money when I was a kid, and he'd say, "Here's 20 quid," and this was over and above my fee, and 20 quid. I look at Cooper and think, well, you must be a millionaire, 20 quid for me. But, when Jimmy Greaves passed away, I thought, that's really sad, And now today, Roger Hunt, 83 years of age. Now, for some people of a certain age, they won't know what he's all about, but what a striker. Second all-time top goal scorer in Liverpool's history.
Yep, and so important for Liverpool as well, and so important to the whole ethos of Liverpool, where it was all about hard work. It was, you know, being a centre forward at Liverpool was all about hard work, putting in the yards. Shankly, you couldn't lie about and poach as they could in those days. And of course, 66 World Cup winner as well. And one of these guys that's a bit, you mean the Liverpool fans won't believe this because he's an absolute legend. One of these guys probably flew a little bit under the radar. You know, if you talk about the 66 World Cup, you'll talk about Hurst scoring all the goals. You maybe talk about Jimmy Greaves not getting into the team. But Roger Hunt was crucial for England in that, and he was crucial in an absolutely superb Liverpool team with his mate Ian St John. Also, God bless him, gone.
Yeah, I mean, Ruffy, I think when you start to talk in glowing terms about these players, just to put it in perspective, when Bill Shankly was talking about building Liverpool, and remember, Liverpool were in the second division, Ruffy, he talks about the crucial part of Ian St John, Ron Yates, signing those two Scottish players. But again, of all the players that were in the second division, he got rid of a lot of them, but he kept Roger Hunt.
Well, I keep saying this on this show. It's not, for me, it's not how much money you take out of the game or much you're getting. It's what your stats say and what you've done in football. And Jimmy Greaves and Hunt come into that category. You know, you just have to look at the things they won, you know, and how many times they played for their country and just everything like that, you know. And the modern day player, we have them up here as big superstars and that. These guys just went about their job.
Yeah.
They just went about. They never. There was no airs and graces. There was no.
Well, he went back to
superstars or anything like that.
Roger Hunt, after he finished playing, went back to his family's haulage company.
That's right.
And, you know, he was driving lorries.
Lovely guy, though. Met him at Liverpool once at Anfield once, very unassuming. And Jimmy Greaves interviewed her, the joy, and it was a joy of interviewing Jimmy Greaves, Peter, and he was, not only was he, you know, so funny in that, but he was so insightful about, you know, talking about players and who he rated, and see, you know, for viewers out there, just a wee smudging of that interview. The way he talked about Dave Mackay, he said, you know, Dave Mackay had this reputation from people afterwards who didn't know him as a player as being just a big hard man at Boston. He says, Dave Mackay was the most technical player I played with. He says, and I played with John White and Danny Burridgeflower. He says, Dave Mackay's training session outside was to volley the ball against the wall. And anybody that's played a bit of football will know how hard it is to keep volleying a ball against the wall. He says, and Mackay could do it all day long. Just volley a ball against the wall.
Well, you know, when Roger Hunter sadly passed away, I mean, I'm sure from the football show, and lots of football fans out there would send their condolences to their family, Roger's family and friends, but 285 goals, 492 games. He was, you know, a real striker, only second to Ian Rush in the all-time goal-scoring stakes for Liverpool. So no mean feat indeed. Roger Hunt sadly passed away today at the age of 83. I love European football, Ruffy. I mean, I don't know about you. Tonight, I'm in a major dilemma, and I don't know where we go with this. I don't think you're in a dilemma. I think you are fairly straightforward on this, but I might have to watch Porto Liverpool, but then again, it's Paris Saint-Germain against Man City. I mean, should I be? Is there a dilemma?
No, I would get the record button ready, you know, and just record whatever one you don't want to see, you know, because the PSG one is, with A3 up front, you know, I'm dying to see how Man City, you know, handle it.
Yeah, I mean, even Pep Guardiola is hoping that Lionel Messi plays.
Messi speaks for itself. It's not just to have to describe him or talk about him. It's just what he has done in his career is more than exceptional, and hopefully tomorrow can play for the benefit for the game.
Listen, if you are in that stadium and you get to see Mbappe, Neymar and Messi, as well as the joys of what Man City offer, what a game it's going to be tonight.
Terrific. I mean, just even one of those games, even if it's a poor game, it'll be fantastic just to watch it, to see why it's poor, you know, to see why, you know, is this dynamic three up front, is it going to work? You know, we already saw Mbappe and Neymar falling out already. I mean, I think that's okay. I think that's what football players do. You know, we always fall out with people at our work, you know. you and I with Ruffy have had many great ups and downs over the last 10 years, Peter, you know. Ruffy's had to get HR in on only 4 occasions. But I don't mind, I just think it's so... It's like one of those magic, like American, you know, end of season all-star games, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't stop at the front three.
No, exactly. But I mean, I was going to say to you,
the goalkeeper at PSG.
Even from my point of view, I love watching Jack Grealish.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm looking at the Man City side. De Bruyne is a joy.
But De Bruyne is my player.
That's what you do as a supporter, and you're watching the game and you know somebody is going to do something. I mean, if you were watching, say, George Best playing in Northern Ireland, you just give him the ball.
Yeah.
Get the ball to him as quick as possible so we can see what he's going to do. Like, do something.
Well,
let's see you doing something.
In the 60s, he's just mentioned George Best. If you were going to a European game and you're going to see Man United, a lot of people would look and go, oh, I can't believe this, Best Law in Charlton. Today, people will say, I can't believe this, Mbappe, Neymar and Messi. I wonder, can you come up with an equivalent? I mean, AC Milan would
AC Van Basten, Hullet, Rijkaard, Donadoni, Albertini, whatever, you know, the great Real Madrid side that, you know, won 4 in a trot, you know.
Hento, Puskas and Santa Maria.
Yeah, and even the other one, Ronaldo, Benzema, whoever else they wanted to play in the team.
Would Cruyff, Rep and Neskins come into it?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I think, see, like, I had the joy of interviewing Neskins in Qatar when I was over in Qatar, and we're talking about greatest players ever, and there was a lot of people of a different age, and they didn't really know who Neskins was, Peter.
Oh, God.
And I'm going to them, and somebody said to me, you're really excited to have talked to him. I said, listen, that guy was the second best player in the world when the best player was his best mate. You know, that's how good this guy was. Yeah, I think there's a real... We all love football. We all love football, and what do you love about football, Peter, is watching great players. And see now, I think the great players are getting more protection than ever, and that's a marvellous thing.
And it's an absolute privilege to sit here knowing that the two of them have scored by me, Neskins and Rep.
That's right.
Is that right?
Rep was a deflection, of course.
Well, to be fair, had he been paying attention, we might still be talking about Scotland winning the World Cup in '78 instead of Rep scoring that goal. Anyway, who are you going to watch tonight? Is it PSG against Manchester City? Could it be Porto against Liverpool? Of course, Jurgen Klopp's been talking ahead of this match, saying the last result against Porto has no bearing on how this one's going to go tonight.
It's not an advantage at all that we won the last 2 games there. Absolutely not. Because you only have to think yourself in the position of the opponent. The first thing you want to do is make sure that similar things will not happen again. So that makes the job not easier for us. But it's not about that. We are not like that. We don't think about the last 2 games we played there. We think about this game.
Well, you know, I'm a big Liverpool fan, Ruffy, but I think tonight I might succumb to PSG against Manchester City on the basis of the superstars that are on show, and then watch Porto, Liverpool a wee bit later on, because Liverpool already have 3 points in the bag. Are you Borussia Dortmund Sporting Lisbon tonight, or are you going to...
Very probably. I can't.
You wouldn't do PSG Man City?
Well, the good thing about me is one of the great joys of being an insomniac, Peter, is that
you watch them all.
By the way, I mean, see, like I was just thinking, I was looking at Jurgen the other night there. It was 2:30 in the morning. I was watching Liverpool Brentford. That might seem very sad to people, but it was great to watch. I mean, I will watch a chunk of them tonight. I mean, it's I've got something on first of all for the football, but I'll make a play at watching a lot of the football.
See, if you had 3 tellies, do you think you could watch 3 games at the same time?
Well,
I've
got 2 in the living room.
What? You've got 2 tellies in the living room?
I've got one, and I'm going to have a better one, as you know, as well. I'm going to have a better one. But I've got, I sit like that quite a lot, especially with football.
Yeah? Yeah. Wow, 2 tellies. Wow. He needs to have a long hard look at his... He's forgotten what about his socialist values? They've completely and utterly gone.
See, if you go into this house, my house is nothing but 2 big... It's like a living room, 1 bedroom flat, and the wee living room. And you just sit in the wee corner, there's tellies pulling at you.
The only thing I can remember from the early days, Ruffy, when you only had one telly was because there were so many of us, and I was the youngest, I had to go up and switch the telly over. Now, some people won't actually remember that, Ruffy. You only had 3 channels, and you had to go up and push the button.
I used to remember coming home from school and I was gutted if my brother got in first because he wouldn't let me watch Andy Pandy. That's a shocker.
27 at the time.
I can't believe it. We've been talking about Johan Cruyff and Johan Neeskens, and somehow Ruffy gets it on to Andy Pandy. Anyway, the one thing that's the nightmare about this whole scenario of us talking about all the football and all the players and the teams that we love to watch: PSG, Man City, Porto against Liverpool. Here's the rest of the fixtures that you can look forward to tonight if you're in control of the telly. It's Shakhtar Donetsk against Inter Milan, Ajax Besiktas, Real Madrid against Sheriff, AC Milan Atletico Madrid, which is a cracker in itself, Borussia Dortmund Sporting Lisbon, and RB Leipzig against Club Brugge. And the only thing that really annoys me about it all, because I love Champions League football, there's a greater interest when you've got Celtic and Rangers playing these, isn't it? I mean, there's the buzz of seeing the teams coming out, wondering how they're going to fare. We're always looking at Celtic and Rangers punching above their weight in this division, but it was just the joy of hearing the theme and then game on.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when as a working pressman, they were both in it, when you remember this, Peter, the days of 1 week it was Rangers away and where Lyon, and next week it was Celtic and Milan or Lisbon or whatever, and you were going to it. Fans, it's just so special for fans. As soon as the draw gets out, getting onto the airline websites and booking up trips and booking up memories. Remember that time we were in Stuttgart? Remember the day we were in Lyon? It's fantastic, and there's no doubt about it. Fans will still be interested in Europa League and the Euro Cup conference, no doubt about it. The Champions League's just...
What's the best Champions League ground you've been to when you were covering football?
The best Champions League, it's a hard one to
I like the Amsterdam Arena. I thought it was sensational.
Allianz was pretty special, and it hurts me to say that as a Dortmund fan.
Yeah.
I thought
Westfalen's great.
Westfalen's a fantastic stadium. In a funny way, the old crumbling and decrepit San Siro, Peter.
Absolutely.
Sort of rang of a bit of smell of history about it. Smell a lot else about it as well.
I often wonder how Ruffy the guy got the Vespa into the San Siro that day. I mean, when you think about people and how they've managed to get things into stadia up and down the country across Europe, somebody managed to get into the San Siro with a Vespa and launch it off the top tier, I think. I mean, I know when Figo joined Real Madrid, they threw a pig's head at him.
That's right.
But how do you get a Vespa in?
I don't know. You'd have to dismantle it and then build it again once you're in.
Yeah.
You can't walk through the gate with that.
Exactly. And by the way,
Steve McQueen, just go over the...
Michael Emmons from Northampton, who's a regular viewer of... Michael, thank you very much for posting this. He says, just remind you, Real Madrid won 5 on the trot, not 4.
I was talking about the second time around.
Ah, right, okay.
Did they win? What did they win second time around? Did they win 4 out of 5 in the second time around? I know they won for 55 right through.
Yeah, you're talking about the Ronaldo run.
Yeah,
okay. Michael, I don't know if that gets him off the hook or not, but there you are. He's answered it. And the reason why I mentioned Michael is because Michael's message is Michael won the Ronaldo top with the CR7 pants. I don't know if Michael's got them on, Ruffy. And he also has the programme for Ronaldo's second debut against Newcastle. And the reason why Michael was able to quickly get onto us is because he has the app. And basically, when you push that, you can actually, in the submissions section, post a message to us right away, and we can read it out immediately. So well done to Michael. If you download the app, PLZ Soccer, in Google Play or in the App Store, you get all the latest breaking news, not only in Scotland, England, across European and world football. And you can watch the programme on your phone as well. Oh, how times have changed. You don't even need to get up off the couch and push channel 1, 2 or 3. Anyway, apart from anything else, that's Tuesday night. Tomorrow night we'll talk about the other Champions League, and we'll discuss in greater detail more from Celtic and Rangers this week, because let's not forget, Sparta Prague against Rangers on Thursday is another tasty one as well. And again, because of Rangers and what they've done over the last couple of seasons, you're looking and thinking to yourself with these games, a point and 3 points is not beyond them.
And I think a point, I think if both teams could get a point, it would be a bonus. I don't think Rangers have hit the heady heights of been away from home at Europe yet. I think the last 2 results have been pretty iffy, but they've been quality sides they've played. And I think this team are a quality side as well. So they'll expect to win the game. So I think if Rangers get a draw, it'd be a great result for them.
Yeah. Do you see it?
Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah, so can I. I can see
I
a
can
draw.
see Rangers getting a draw, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's always good to get your thoughts on it, Hugh, as well. Don't forget to download the PLZ Soccer app, but if you do get a chance, hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, because coming up, we're going to be giving you the chance to win more strips. We'll be giving away some memorabilia, as Hugh was alluding to earlier. We're also going to give you the chance to win an iPad, an Xbox One, all of these things coming up, which are ideal ahead of Christmas. And we're also going to give you the chance, as we were mentioning earlier, when we have the big open night for the studio, get a couple of fans along. It'll be great for you, Ruffy, because you've been to 3 World Cups, you know, and you'll be here on a night out. You always show a great interest in people for a couple of minutes, and then you move on.
I'm a people's person, we know that. You know, I just like meeting the public.
Yes.
It'd be nice to them.
Yes.
Because we are nice people.
Absolutely. So that's what you can look forward to, and hopefully you can come along and see our new studio. So with that in mind, thanks to Hugh, thanks to Ruffy, and from myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching the programme. We'll see you tomorrow.